Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take your pile of sources and turn them into clear, compelling insights. Today, we're not just dissecting a TV show, we're really exploring a cultural blueprint. Lost. It didn't just entertain us. It fundamentally reshaped how we watch, how we theorize, and maybe how we grapple with life's biggest questions all through a screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this deep dive, we've pulled together quite a stack of material. We've got candid interviews with the cast and creators from The Independent, really passionate fan discussions from Reddit, covering everything from lingering plot questions to that polarizing finale. And then there's critical analyses from places like CBR and Entertainment Weekly, looking at its groundbreaking impact and its philosophical themes.
Right. So our mission today is to peel back those layers from Lost's, groundbreaking narrative and that mystery box allure through its notoriously debated ending. Try and uncover why this island saga still resonates so profoundly, years after the smoke cleared. So Lost became this absolute sensation. And for those of us who watched it unfold week by week, it felt like more than just TV, didn't it? It was an event. And what exactly made it such a game changer for television back then?
Oh, it was a true trailblazer, that's for sure. I think one of its most significant innovations was really pioneering that nonlinear narrative structure. Before Lost, complex multi-timeline narratives were often seen as maybe a bit niche. But by seamlessly weaving present-day events on the island with character flashbacks and then even flash-forwards later on, it proved audiences were not just ready for it, but actually hungry for narratives that demanded, their active participation.
Yeah, I still remember watching John Locke's Walkabout episode in season 1, seeing him stand up, and then that flashback of him in the wheelchair just hit like a ton of bricks. It truly redefined character development, didn't it? It wasn't just some kind of gimmick.
Exactly. It was like a character revelation engine.
Yeah.
It pulled us deeper into their psyches. You mentioned Locke's journey from being paralyzed to walking on the island. And then there was Charlie's struggle with addiction, shown right alongside his rock star past. These techniques, they fundamentally shaped our understanding of who these characters were and, crucially, why they made the choices they did.
And it really went beyond just the survival genre, too. I remember thinking, okay, is this sci-fi? Is it drama, a thriller?
Yeah.
How did Lost manage to blend so many different elements without feeling, totally disjointed? Was that genre bending intentional right from the start?
That's a great observation. And yeah, from the outset, the creators definitely wanted to defy easy categorization. They actively pulled from sci-fi, mystery, serial drama, the supernatural, even those old adventure serials, precisely to keep audiences on their toes. And then, of course, there's the mystery box storytelling approach, which J.J. Abrams really popularized. This idea of intentionally presenting unexplained things, secrets, early on to really hook the audience's curiosity and engagement.
Like those infamous numbers Hurley kept seeing. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. So remember those.
Precisely. The show was absolutely filled with those kinds of enigmatic elements and unresolved questions, and that's what kept audiences hooked. It sparked those widespread water cooler moments. People weren't just watching, they were actively dissecting episodes online, theorizing. It fundamentally changed how entertainment media was consumed, really.
But that deep engagement, it eventually led to some tension, didn't it? Even within the show's own development. I remember reading Evangeline Lilly, who played Kate, reportedly loved season 1 when it was all about the characters, but felt the focus shifted later more towards the mythology, and maybe that wasn't her taste as much.
That's a fascinating point, and yeah, it highlights a core tension Lost definitely wrestled with. Co-creator Damon Lindelof himself even acknowledged this shift. He said something like, everybody's talking about polar bears, hatches, the Dharma Initiative, Jacob and the Man in Black, but let's answer the mystery of what happens when you die and the process that you go through in order to achieve some fundamental level of grace. And he admitted that, a portion of the audience was like, that wasn't on my list. I'm not interested in that.
Wow, that's a huge tightrope walk for any showrunner, isn't it? Trying to satisfy two very different kinds of viewers. Do you think Lost ever truly managed to balance that demand? Or did one side inevitably feel a bit let down?
Well, that tension really defined the later seasons, I think. As Rebecca Mader, who played Charlotte, observed, the people that loved it are people who were driven by the character development. Quote, maybe the people that weren't as satisfied were the people that are more science-brained, who wanted lots of things explained. Oh, she even compared it to British TV, saying, not everything is handed to you on a silver platter. And at the core of all that mythology was the heart of the island, described as this glowing cave of light, a source of life, death, rebirth, and like a cork holding back some malevolent force.
Okay, so the sources show just how deeply fans get into those mysteries. Beyond the big picture stuff, what were some of those specific debated unanswered questions or plot holes that kept the forums buzzing for years?
Oh, the list is expensive. And honestly, it's kind of a testament to how compelling the show was. Fans dissected everything. From like practical things, why was there that hatch entrance to the Swan Station if there was a main entrance, to the more supernatural stuff, like how Desmond's consciousness traveled through time, or even why did Ben Linus get cancer when others on the island seemed to be healed? These debates really show how Lost created this community of like amateur detectives always trying to outthink the creators.
It's incredible the level of detail the audience went into.
Yeah.
Were there ever any definitive answers or interpretations offered for these? Or were a lot of them just left purposefully ambiguous?
For many, yeah, the show or the creators did offer interpretations, or at least hints. Fans also developed their own pretty logical theories. For instance, the hatch entrance could maybe be a secondary emergency exit, Dr. Cheng's aliases, maybe due to paranoia about time travelers or just secrecy. And the man in black could project images across water, which explain how he appeared to Michael. The showrunners even explained that the bomb Juliet detonated, that negated the electromagnetism and sent the survivors forward in time. But yeah, some elements, like why Richard Alpert, who knew the Man in Black could take the form of dead people, didn't immediately suspect Locke was MIB, those remain really hotly debated.
It sounds like the creators were definitely aware of the huge challenge of ending a show that complex.
Yeah.
Carlton Q stated, "We had the good fortune of ending Lost on its own terms." End quote. He pointed out we were the first show in the era of network television where we determined our end date. And he acknowledged, maybe some people didn't love the ending, but we at least did give the audience an intentional one.
Right.
And speaking of endings, the end. It became one of the most talked about, maybe most controversial finales in TV history. Perhaps the biggest misconception that still floats around is that idea. Were the characters dead all along? What's the definitive truth there for you?
Right, and that's such a crucial point to clarify, because, yeah, that myth, it really does still persist, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, the characters were not dead the whole time they were on the island. Everything that happened on the island, the crash, the smoke monster, the hatch, the time travel, all of that was real. It was tangible. It had consequences within the story. Christian Shepherd, Jack's father, he says it explicitly in the finale. Everyone dies sometime, kiddo. Some of them before you. Some long after you.
Okay, so if the island events were real, where did that pervasive dead all along theory actually come from? I remember that confusion so vividly at the time.
It seems to have stemmed primarily from two factors. First, after the final episode aired, ABC, apparently without the producer's approval, showed this short montage of the Oceanic 815 wreckage, just images of the wreckage on the beach. It was meant as a callback to the pilot, I guess, but this blunder, it caused immense confusion. It made a lot of people think, oh, they died in the crash.
Right.
And second, maybe more significantly, was the introduction of the Flash Sideways timeline in that final season.
Right. That alternate reality where the plane never crashed. Sawyer was a cop, Ben was a teacher, Jack was married to Juliet. So what was the actual purpose of those Flash Sideways scenes?
Yeah, they weren't meant to be a literal purgatory, exactly. It was described more as a kind of netherworld, or maybe a way station that the survivors collectively created. It was a place for them to all come together, but more importantly, to process and resolve their unresolved issues, their emotional baggage from their lives before they could, move on together to whatever comes next.
So it was really about emotional closure.
Yeah.
Reckoning with their past before moving on.
Precisely. You see Jack confronting his daddy issues, Sawyer reconciling his whole cop criminal thing, Ben choosing Alex over power for once, Locke learning to love himself. And when they were reminded of their time on the island, often through these really profound connections with each other, they would sort of awaken to their true memories. That prepared them to move forward together.
And that very emotional church scene at the very end, with everyone reuniting, it felt incredibly poignant watching it.
It really did, didn't it? That scene symbolized, I think, humanity's interconnectedness, the importance of community. The stained glass window even had symbols from multiple faiths, signifying it was inclusive beyond just one religion. The actors themselves apparently found it deeply moving, too. Sam Anderson, who played Bernard, described being kept separate from the others until they filmed that final reunion. So their emotional reactions on set were apparently very genuine. The producers explained to the cast that this way station was where all the people who meant the most to you in your life will show up before you all move on to the next place. Rebecca Natter said she was just blubbing and crying for hours, felt like a bit like a funeral for a huge chapter in her life. And it's also really significant that not everyone moved on with the main group right then. Ben chose to stay behind. He felt unworthy, which showed growth, but also his continued need for redemption.
So moving beyond the intricate plot and the fate of the characters, Lost really dug into some profound philosophical themes that still resonate. For you, what were some of the deepest questions the show was exploring?
Well, at its heart, I think Lost presented a real existential challenge. It forced the characters, and by extension, us as viewers, to confront these fundamental questions of identity, purpose, the meaning of our lives. It highlighted how profound revelations often come from these major life-altering circumstances.
Yeah, you see that so clearly in the dynamic between John Locke and Jack Shepherd, don't you? Their whole man of science versus man of faith thing felt like the core philosophical debate running through the entire series.
Absolutely. Locke's unwavering faith in the island's calling right up against Jack's scientific, rational mindset. Their dynamic perfectly reflected humanity's sort of ongoing search for understanding in a world that constantly tests our beliefs. The show also consistently played with destiny versus free will. Was it fate that Sawyer met Jack's father before the crash, or that Locke's father caused his paralysis? Dreams often seem to foreshadow events, like Locke's dream about Boone's plane crash. It made you wonder just how much the island itself was influencing their actions.
It really pushes you as a viewer to think about how much control we actually have over our own lives versus what might be predestined.
Precisely. And kind of tying it all together was Jack's famous line from way back in season 1, episode 5, White Rabbit, "If we can't live together, we're going to die alone." And that wasn't just about physical survival on the island. It felt like a profound philosophy about our interconnectedness as humans. Maybe death is ultimately a solo experience, but everything leading up to it, our struggles, our triumphs, our growth, that's all shared. Ultimately, while yeah, some fans felt the ending maybe boiled down magic, or that many fan theories were better than the real story, the creators did leave a lot purposefully ambiguous. They invited the audience to decide for themselves what that search for meaning, well, means to them.
Okay, so while the show's run ended, the discussion certainly hasn't stopped. Lost finished in 2010. But are there any whispers of it ever returning to the screen? Or is its legacy purely in its past impact now?
Oh, the whispers are definitely still there. As recently as June 2019, ABC's programming chief actually expressed interest in seeing a Lost reboot. And Henry Ian Cusick, who played Desmond, he thinks it would be really cool and said he'd be up for it. He suggested maybe a new focus on the island itself as the star, or perhaps exploring the post-finale adventures of Hurley and Ben as the new protectors. Cusick even felt Desmond's story ended too soon, suggesting another season could have explored more of his and Penny's journey.
So it's not just a show that left its mark and faded away. It continues to influence TV and captivate audiences even years later.
That's spot on. Lost consistently ranks among the top television shows of all time in many lists. Evangeline Lilly, I think, captured its lasting impact really well when she said that Lost proved that people love to be challenged, that people are desperate for intelligent entertainment, and when you give it to them and honor their intelligence, they can not only understand but go beyond and live up to and read even further into what you're making than you could have imagined. It truly revolutionized modern TV and, yeah, continues to be praised for its storytelling and its complex characters.
What an incredible deep dive into Lost.
Yeah.
Just wow. From its groundbreaking narrative and that genre-bending brilliance to its endlessly debated finale and those profound philosophical themes, it's really clear why this show continues to resonate with so many people.
It really does highlight how a story can go way beyond just mere entertainment, doesn't it? It invites us to reflect on those deeper questions about our own lives, our connections.
So as we close out this deep dive, maybe consider this final thought, sort of echoing Damon Lindelof. Is there a purpose behind suffering? And, more importantly, do you have to suffer to achieve a level of grace? What does Lost's whole journey suggest to you about that question, maybe in your own life?